Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, you know what time it is. It's January 9th, 2018. And you know what that means. It's time to get nerdy, y'all. Welcome to episode number 55 of Two Nerds in a Pod, the nerdiest gaming podcast in the galaxy. I'm Lam, also known as Mr. Nice Guy, and I got my comrade in gaming commentary here with me, the miggity Mac, also known as Maction. Mac, it's a new year. Nothing really rhymes with year, so we're just going to go with new year. What's new, man? How are things, dude? Uh-oh, now here's a problem. Did you mute your mic on accident, buddy? Because I see you talking, I see you being enthusiastic, but I can't hear you. So, and my speakers are up. Are you sure your mic isn't muted? Okay, guys, here's what
okay.
There we go.
Anything?
There we go.
Okay.
Now I can hear you. So let me ask that again. Mac, how are things, dude?
Hey, hang on just a second. I had all sorts of things just die on me.
You're okay. As long as it's not people, we're good to go.
Okay. Sorry for the lack of audio. I even where I'm recording it on my side, that even went out on me for a second there. Just everything spazzed out all at once. But okay, where was I? Yes, Mr. Nice Guy. Something that rhymes with year here. So it's a new year and we are still here. There we go.
There you go. Mac is going to put out an album, you guys, 2018 called Return of the Mac.
Return of the Mac. But I'm doing well, Mr. Nice Guy. Had a couple of really cool things I want to share.
Ooh, tell us.
Number one is that you know how I'll make like a whole series of perlers for a game, and then I'll play the game and raffle away the perlers?
I do know that, yeah.
I'm going to do that again because I just kind of wanted to do a bunch of perlers from Super Mario Bros. 3, and to sweeten the pot, Mrs. the Mac agreed to play Super Mario Bros. 3 the whole game, so all levels play it co-op.
How are you going to... Oh, I see, like two-player.
Yeah, exactly. So I'll be Mario, she'll be Luigi, or I'll be Luigi, she'll be Mario. Either way, it'll be fine. But we'll play it together. And I've got a perler for every enemy, and a perler for just all the things. So I'm pretty excited about that.
Now here's the $1 million question: when is this going down, and where can the people check it out?
TBD on the time. But as for where, it'll just be on twitch.tv/Maction, just the usual place. But it will be fun nonetheless.
That's awesome.
I think it'll be fun. So yeah, that's what I've been doing a lot of perlering. It's been a particularly stressful time coming off of the holidays, and so that has necessitated perlering for sanity's sake.
Dude, that's a nice perler. Is that a Minecraft?
Thanks. Minecraft? What do you... No, this is Super Metroid.
I couldn't see what it was. It looked like it was a tree with apples in it. I kid you not. The green.
This is not a tree with apples.
Because you held it too far away from the camera.
Oh, fine. How is it? Can you see it now?
Now I can tell what it is. And
there.
I'm hoping that we'll hear about a new Metroid in the near future, but we can talk about that a little later. Anything else exciting happen, Mac? Your life is so much more exciting than mine, man. And mine is pretty darn exciting, so I just say something about
my
that.
life is not more exciting than yours, and I think that is about the extent of the excitement right there.
Dude, that's cool. Well, since you were talking about Mario, I gotta say, my boys and I, Little Nice Guy and Littler Nice Guy, we finished Super Mario Odyssey. And that's kind of like the first Mario that they have finished with me, you know what I mean? So if you think back to your first Mario, for me it was Mario 1. And I feel like that always has a special place in your heart, the first Mario game that you complete. So this is theirs. We beat it tonight. We completed Bowser. Now, granted, there's like 999 moons you can get. I think we have less than 200. So there's still a lot of game left, but we got through the main story, I guess, is what I'm trying to say. So it was a glorious moment, So I thought I'd share that with the people. And Mac... On that note, I say we do what we do best, and we get right into the gaming news, my friend.
Let's do it.
Guys and girls, welcome to Two Nerds in a Pod, nerdiest gaming podcast in the galaxy. This is episode number 55, which means we are 55% of the way to 100 episodes. So we got a lot of really cool gaming news stories for you guys today. Let's start with the biggest one, which is a report on Kotaku. This is making the rounds, you guys, that Twitch signed a 2-year deal with Overwatch League worth at least $90 million American. The article says Overwatch League's 2-year deal to stream its matches on Twitch is the biggest such contract in esports history, worth at least $90 million, according to a new report in Sports Business Journal. Twitch will stream all regular season and postseason contests and serve as the sole broadcaster for half of the league's 12 weekly matches, while the others will be simultaneously streamed on Major League Gaming, the platform owned by an Overwatch publisher Activision Blizzard. Preseason matches were broadcast exclusively on MLG, which has not offered any viewership statistics, but the regular season matches that begin tomorrow will be first to stream on Twitch. The annual value of the deal just edges out that of the 7-year, $300 million contract that League of Legends Riot Games signed with BAMTech in 2016. Deal had nothing to do with streaming League and was just for what SBJ calls, quote, joint tech development and commercialization. So anyway, guys, pretty big deal. If anyone was still doubting esports, stop doubting. They're here to stay. They're not going anywhere. Overwatch is one of the best games out right now. I would say one of the most, as far as esports titles, even as far as like shooters, team-based shooters, it's just a fantastic game, and they're doing it right. They're keeping it updated. Free content. I'm excited. Mac, now here's a question I have for you. I know you watch Twitch. Favorite games to watch on Twitch, if any? Or are you more of a streamer type person? You pick a streamer and watch whatever they're playing. Oh, Mac, your mic went out again, dude. It's okay, though, because I'm just going to give what your answer is. My favorite game to... I can't really do a Mac impersonation. I'm going to try, though. Well, you know, Mr. Nice Guy, my favorite game to watch on Twitch is one that's not traditionally a favorite of many. But I would probably have to go with any of the Mega Man games. I enjoy watching those. Also, I enjoy watching Metroid. Also, I really enjoy watching some co-op Minecraft. There's some mods out there, Mr. Nice Guy, that you would not believe the shenanigans that people get into. And also...
Okay, how about now?
Now you're good to go. Mac, you were just telling us about some of your favorite games to watch on Twitch. And I feel
Was I telling you some of my favorite games? And Mr. Nice Guy, I've got some bad news. My recording on my side has completely crudted out. It's not recording at all. So it looks like I can have one or the other tonight.
Dude, just do the mic because I'm recording the overall stream, so we're good to go, Mac. I got your back.
Perfect. Yeah, I'm just gonna get rid of this. Yes, there are some games that I like to watch on Twitch. I'm not the kind of person who is hopelessly devoted to a streamer with regard to whatever they play, I'll watch. Most of the time when somebody starts playing an FPS, I'm kind of out of there because FPSs aren't in general my thing. But, you know, that's just me. But I would say favorite game... I really enjoy creative streams. I know that's not a game, but that's what I like.
Cool, man. You gotta like what you like. That's how it goes. You can quote me on that. Well, cool. If I had to pick one game, I'm really into PUBG right now, man. I really enjoy watching PUBG, PlayerUnknown Battlegrounds on Twitch. Also Fortnite. So that's it for me. And guys, let us know in the chat what your favorite games are to watch on Twitch. This Overwatch League thing is a pretty big deal. Excited to see that this is happening. Excited to watch it. Now, let's talk about our favorite people to hate, that everyone loves to hate on, is Nintendo. Let's talk about them. This is on Polygon. It says, fans across the internet are convinced that Nintendo will hold one of its Nintendo Direct presentations on January 11th. And over the past few weeks, anticipation for that still unannounced event has reached a fever pitch. More than a month of buildup from general excitement to unconfirmed leaks to Twitter trolling has gotten fans so worked up that if Nintendo doesn't say anything soon, who's to say what could happen to the company's enthusiastic community? Craving Nintendo news is nothing new for fans of the company, especially now that the Switch is here. Fans, after all, created an entire speculation-filled subreddit around the Nintendo NX. the code name for the Switch, before Nintendo unveiled much about the system. But hype for January's rumored Nintendo Direct is both more intense and possibly a bit more credible than most hype cycles. So, Mac, there's some rumors that are going on about the Switch, and I think that one of them in particular, about the Nintendo Direct, and I think one of them in particular is going to excite you and maybe sway you in the direction of wanting a Nintendo Switch. And that rumor is that there is going to be a new Pokemon title. Additionally, it's rumored that it will be, I'm trying to remember the terminology, but effectively live action combat. Now, traditionally Pokemon is turn-based combat, meaning that, you attack and then you sit back while your opponent attacks. But this one could be more of a fighter. What are your thoughts on that? And would it get you more excited about the Switch?
Probably not. 151 Pokemons, maybe 251 Pokemons for life. That being said, I mean, so really you think it's going to be like a Pokemon fighter?
Well, let me rephrase that. That's bad terminology because it's not a fighting game.
Okay.
But rather than taking turns and selecting an attack from a menu, potentially you would be pressing buttons to fight, if that makes sense. So same screen setup, effectively, where you're looking over the shoulder of your Pokemon, but you're
slightly less turn-based Pokemon Stadium.
Exactly. Yeah, that's kind of how I interpret it. That's a good way of putting it. What are your thoughts on that, or do you just like the classic style?
I do like the classic style. It does and will always hold a special place in my heart, but I don't know. I don't know if it would do it. I think if I buy a Switch, I am probably going to purchase it secondhand, like I do most of my stuff. But yeah. So if I do pick up a Switch, it'll probably be secondhand. I don't think that this bit of desperation with Pokemon, this Nintendo is desperate for the love of Maction, and that's why they're pulling out all the stops, Mr. Nice Guy. But I think I can resist these brazen overtures.
And to be clear, this is a rumor. This is speculation, so it could or could not happen. I've also seen people speculating about a Super Mario Maker 2. I don't know if you ever watched Super Mario Maker on Twitch. It's a fantastic game to watch. If they put out a second one for the Switch, I would be very excited. Metroid is another potential game that could be released in 2018, and then there's some other stuff as well. We got Kirby that we know is coming out. We got the new No More Heroes coming out. There's other stuff. So Nintendo hasn't even really announced that this is going to happen on the 11th, much like they did with the Switch. The Nintendo Direct for the Switch was right before it was about to come out, and they really were very mums about it. So, is that a word? So we'll see what happens. Let's keep it moving, though. We got a few more news stories. This next one, let's see. We'll go with this one from Game Rant. Talks about one of the most iconic franchises in gaming, and I want to get opinions on in the chat about this. It says 2018 will mark 3 years since the launch of Halo 5 Guardians, and fans still have yet to see anything concrete about Halo 6. However, since Halo is Xbox's flagship franchise, there is no question that the game is still in active development at 343 Industries. Unfortunately for anyone hoping to play Master Chief's next adventure by the end of the year, though, that doesn't seem likely. 343 Industries recently addressed the community in a blog post, which suggested that Halo 6 may not release in 2018. In the post, 343 promises new, quote, fun times and adventures for fans, but follows that up by saying, quote, no, not those adventures. So here's the exact quote from them. It says, "Welcome back. To be frank, or grim really, I'm not sure if that's a welcome back to us guys or you guys, but let's go with it either way. 2018 has arrived, and with it the promise of new fun times to be had and adventures to be embarked upon. No, not those adventures, but plenty of exciting ones regardless, some which might surprise you and others." Now, Mac, other than like original Halo co-op, because I know we did some co-op one time when I was at your place, did you ever get into Halo? I know you're not a multiplayer guy now, but I know back in the day you had the original Xbox and played some Halo. Was the original the only one you got into, or were you a fanboy?
No, I played the original and I played Halo 2. I don't think, let's see, In Halo 3, did you get to play part of the time as the Arbiter?
I can't remember, to be honest with you, man.
I think if you did, then I believe I've also played Halo 3, but I haven't played anything else. I haven't even played what's the one Dropship Troopers. It's got Nathan Fillion as voice actor in it, among other things. But you play non-Spartans. You play they're still military people, but it's not,
Oh, Halo.
yeah, ODST, that's
Yeah.
it. Thank you everyone for weighing in there. But yeah, so I don't think I've played anything past, and Arbiter was Halo 2. So yeah, no, I haven't played anything past Halo 2. And
Here's
I didn't feel like Halo 2 made me excited for further games in the franchises. So so I never really bought them.
Now here's my thought on this, and I want to get, Galvatron and Pazzi and Kane and all you guys who are gaming experts in the chat to let me know what you think about this theory. I feel like the next Halo is not going to come out until the next Xbox comes out, and here's why. Microsoft is constantly being criticized for lack of software, for lack of exclusives on their console, and I feel like they've lost this generation, quite frankly. The Switch is killing it. The PlayStation 4 is killing it. Microsoft really doesn't need to put out another piece of software that sells consoles until they're trying to release a new console. They cannot catch up to the PlayStation 4. They cannot catch up to the, well, they've passed the Switch, but as far as the rate at which the Switch is selling, they're not gonna get more fire in the industry from Xbox sales than the Switch is getting right now. They're not going to get more recognition. So to me, it makes sense that they'd hold back on releasing Halo 6 until they're trying to push a new console and get people to buy it that way. I want to get your opinions in the chat. Let us know what you think. We'll keep it moving. We'll do one more news story, and then we'll move along. Now, Mac, this story may excite you because I know you're a retro guy, and those are some nice glasses, by the way. Like those. You just put them on.
I've got to follow suit. You're wearing your dad glasses. I've got to wear my dad glasses.
My dad glasses are prescription. Yours are to reduce glare. Is that right? For like gaming
That's
glasses?
correct.
Which is just as cool.
Although seeing myself in the video, it's not doing a very good job of reducing the glare.
I know, it's not for me either. I was just looking at my face. I'm like, oh, I got some alien eyes. This next story is from Gizmodo, and it says, with the NES and SNES Classic Edition retro consoles still selling out as fast as they go on sale, it's a safe assumption that Nintendo is going to revive some of its other popular consoles soon. But before the Game Boy Classic Edition has a chance to become more than a rumor, peripherals manufacturer Hyperkin is releasing its own remake of the classic portable handheld. Temporarily called the Ultra Game Boy while it's still in development, the name is actually a perfect description of Hyperkin's hardware, which improves on the Nintendo original Game Boy in countless ways without affecting the classic gameplay many of us remember. I'm going to keep reading because this is fascinating. The Ultra Game Boy housing is made from aluminum, which has a wonderful heft when you pick it up. Your original Game Boy is probably covered in nicks and scratches, but it will take a lot of abuse for Hyperkin's remake to start showing wear and tear. It also carries over the original volume and contrast dials, but the final version will include a third dial, allowing you to adjust the portable console's new backlit LCD display through the entire RGB spectrum. That's pretty sick. That backlight can also be turned off if you want a truly authentic squinty Game Boy experience. Now, Mac, here's some new features, dude. New features for the Ultra Game Boy will include a built-in 6-hour battery, a USB-C port for charging, as well as a pair of stereo speakers and left and right audio out connectors. Why the improvements to the Game Boy's sound system when all of its classic games only generate mono sound? Aside from appealing to retro gamers, Hyperkin's Ultra Game Boy is also being customized for chip-tuned musicians who use the classic console to create modern electric tunes. Wow. Hyperkin is hoping to have the Ultra Game Boy, or whatever it ends up being called, ready for late summer this year with a price point of under $100, Mac. It sounds like Nintendo has a lot of catching up to do now. But it's missing built-in games, it says. So you can play all your classic Game Boy games and possibly even your Game Boy Color carts, but you'll have to supply all the original cartridges, which is the one disadvantage. But Mac, is this something you'd be interested in? Because I know you have a lot of retro consoles, even consoles that play multiple cartridges, but do you have handhelds as well?
I do have one. I have a handheld that plays Game Boy, Game Boy Color, and Game Boy Advanced games.
Wow.
With a cartridge for it. It has a battery, and actually, it's within arm's reach. So hang on, I'm gonna grab it.
Yeah, he's gonna go check that out. And guys, I'm curious if any of you in the chat are interested in something like this. Go ahead, Mac.
So this is the one that I've got.
Ooh, that's nice.
It's it has a reasonable feel to it. It's got its cartridge here. It came with a cartridge, a multi-cart that you just drop an SD card or a micro SD card in, and all the things. It is backlit. The batteries are replaceable. It's based off of the old Nokia battery design. The ones that are inside those practically indestructible flip phones.
Yep.
And yeah, it's great for me. Now, I'm going to say that for me personally, one of the disadvantages of being into the retro community is that I have a small amount of desire for fidelity, so I don't care much for for emulation if I can avoid it. This one, the thing that kind of sealed the deal on this one is that it has a video out. So I can actually stream Game Boy, Game Boy Color, and Game Boy Advance very easily from this thing if I feel so inclined.
That's sweet.
Which is and it was it was about $100 for the whole thing.
Fantastic deal for playing three different types of cartridges.
Yeah, so a good deal. That is what made it, that's what made it appealing to me. Now, this one, I don't know what's going on inside of it. If it were, for example, a handheld, that was actually remakes of the original Game Boy boards and played Game Boy games, then I might be able to see the appeal to the hardcore retro people.
Right.
But I'm just not exactly sure to whom this will appeal, aside from it being made of aluminum, but to whom it will appeal when you put it out there and think there are already $100 solutions that do Game Boy, Game Boy Color, Game Boy Advance, and have video out, and the list goes on. Yeah, or a Raspberry Pi. Yeah. I mean, if you want to play it on the go, you've got the option pretty easily. And if you want to play it at home, then Raspberry Pi, and you're done.
Now, slightly off topic, there was a recent Game Boy game that was released in 2017. I kid you not. It's called Tobu Girl. It's a free download, and I put it on my Raspberry Pi. It's effectively a upward scrolling game. It's one of those games that doesn't have a lot of depth as far as, you're basically bouncing off these little trampoline things in the sky and just trying not to fall. But I mean, it was fun. Like, I'm addicted to it. Not addicted to it, but I put a good number of hours into it, a couple hours last weekend, and it's a fun game. So, I mean, there's obviously still a big appetite for people to play those classic style Game Boy games. And yeah, so I think that this handheld will be successful. If it was Kickstarter available, I might do it because I actually have a lot of old Game Boy cartridges I'd love to get back into. So anyway, Mac, that is our news for the week. I'll turn it over to you, buddy.
All right. Well, now that we've taken a look at some of the games and things that are going on around us right now in gaming, I think it's only fair that we turn to the beloved past and some of the things that have gone on this week in years past. And I have a couple of fantastic ones for us. The first one comes to us from the year 1998, released for the PS1, Alundra. If you happen to be familiar with it, it is a spiritual successor to Landstalker, which some of us may recall with more fondness. But Alundra really was. Alundra and Landstalker both. I feel like Landstalker was the real Zelda of the Sega Genesis. It was the exploration RPG. It had good action elements. It had wonderful dungeons. It was really just a great game. If you were thinking, if I had a Sega Genesis and had the whole library of games, what would I peg as being the most Zelda-ish of the games of that era, but for the Sega Genesis or the Mega Drive, if you prefer? And Alundra would definitely be the one that I think fits that bill the best. Or I'm sorry, Landstalker. In that vein, Alundra is also, because it's based very much off Landstalker, is very much a good, solid Zelda-like game, but for the PS1. It's got some good story to it. It's got some animated cutscenes that are really kind of fun. And above all, it's got some pretty solid gameplay. So if you haven't played Alundra, it is well worth your time. So yeah, Alundra came out in '98 for the PS1.
Nice.
The next one, I remember somewhat fondly. It was not especially well received, but it did star Sonic, and in 2004 they released Sonic Heroes. Now, with the exception of the fact that everybody kind of hates Sonic Heroes, and really they kind of hate all the Sonic games that were released, say, circa 99 and onward, until the most recent Sonic Mania, which has been getting a lot of love. This Sonic Heroes, released in 2004, was the first Sonic game to be released, at release for multiple platforms. So it had a PlayStation, it had a GameCube release, and so on. And what's even more interesting is that Sonic Heroes was almost a 2D platformer. They got a little ways into their development cycle before they decided to go 3D, fully 3D with it, which of course, in retrospect, was a huge mistake. But then again, so many decisions are. Although, as a brief side note, Mr. Nice Guy, I can't wait until we get to the year 2021.
Why is that?
Because I want to make the joke when we say, "Oh man, those extra whatevers at Christmas dinner were a mistake," and then I can say, "Well, hindsight is 2020." Because 2021 it'll be 2020.
Corny, but clever. I like that.
Thanks. With that being said, the last one that I want to mention about, and I know I mentioned this around this time last year, but I still think it's so important.
Let's hear it.
Is that this time of year is when we saw Apogee Software release some of their best games. Some of the best games came out of there around this time of year, such as my favorite, the Commander Keen series.
Dude, those games are so good.
Oh yeah, it really is the beginning of the series then, and yeah, just good stuff all around. It was a great way to start the year for video game. Alundra, Sonic Heroes, Commander Keen, many classic titles, but all good stuff. And with that being said, Mr. Nice Guy, that's all that I had for gaming history for this week.
That's fantastic. So let's talk about our next segment of the show, y'all, which is called The Topic of the Week, where we talk about something relevant in gaming, and we get your opinions on it. So this week, let's talk about the Nintendo Switch. I know we talked about it a little bit already in gaming news, but there's two things that the Switch has done that I find kind of significant from a sales perspective. This first part of it comes from GameInformer.com. It says, over in Japan, gaming magazine Famitsu has reported that the Switch has officially blown past Nintendo's previous console, the Wii U, in Japanese sales after less than a year on the market. According to Famitsu sales tracking, the Switch has hit 3.4 million, which leapfrogs the Wii U's 3.3 million. So bottom line, guys, the Switch has outsold the entire lifetime of the Wii U in Japan, even though the Switch has been out less than a year. Now, additionally, here's an article on WRAL.com, And it basically just says that the Switch is the fastest selling video game system of all time. It says Nintendo announced on Thursday that the new Nintendo Switch is the fastest. Blah, blah, blah. I read that already. The video game console, which allows gamers to play both at home and on the go, sold 4.8 million units in 10 months to U.S. households. Nintendo's sales surpassed the PlayStation 2's record for the fastest-selling console. The company forecasted that it will sell nearly 17 million consoles by April 2018. These numbers could catapult the Switch into the top 10 selling consoles of all time in less than a year or two. So, Mac, here's my question for you, and I know you don't own one, but I know you are familiar with it. There's two questions.
Mm-hmm.
Is Nintendo going to rise back to prominence? This is speculation, but I want to get your opinion. Because basically, they're killing PlayStation and they're killing Xbox right now. And the other question is, what makes the Switch so appealing? The Wii U bombed. The Wii did really well, but it was because it was bundled with Wii Sports and things like that. And it was unique, and it was very, very mainstream. You know, it had games that anyone could play, that your mom could play, your grandma could play. Why are people buying the Switch, and is it going to put Nintendo back on top? That's my question for you.
So I feel like in a lot of ways, Nintendo usually isn't playing the same game as their competitors, which I think when they tend to take some risks, like, for example, with the motion controls in the Wii, but they weren't playing the same game. They weren't targeting the same group of gamers, and that the Wii was frightfully successful. The Wii U had problems primarily because nobody could really, it's like, oh, hey, here's a cool thing you could do with this. But in the words of Ian Malcolm from the first Jurassic Park movie, you were so concerned with asking if you could, you didn't stop to ask if you should.
I thought you were going to quote Malcolm in the Middle when you said Malcolm, and I had no idea where you were going with it. But now I'm with you.
Malcolm in the Middle, also a good one. But with that being said, when you get right down to it, when they made the Wii U, they had a lot of good ideas, but nothing really coalesced. And you can see that mostly in the games that came out for the Wii U and in how they just didn't have good ways to implement that additional screen. Now, turning our eyes toward the future, yes, Nintendo has been more successful with the Switch. Yes, it is outselling the Wii U because, well, obviously the Wii U was just poorly conceived, unfortunately. But I think that Nintendo will at least continue to maintain through this generation of consoles. Particularly, the lower price point of the Switch helps them quite a bit. As you've got people who are deciding whether to buy this or that. I mean, the Switch at, what is it, around $300 if I recall right?
Yeah, $299.
Yeah, $299. It's much closer to the, well, hey, we could buy that, or hey, that could make a good present for little Timmy, that sort of thing. So
that's a good point. Now, here's the thing I will say about the Switch and the price that's a little bit misleading, is a lot of the games on Switch, you want to have 4 Joy-Cons or 4 controllers. It only comes with 2. You got to buy 2 more, and they cost, I believe, $79.99. So that's $80 for 2 more controllers. Then you buy a game, that's another $60. You get some screen protectors, and it ends up being more than the $299. But that's really the case with almost any console that you buy. Nintendo accessories, though, they are extremely overpriced, even though they're awesome. And I think that that's the one thing that may hurt them in the long run. I think Nintendo is back. And my dream for the Switch is that they come out with just like 3 to 5 new IPs over the span of the console that cement them as a company that can still come up with new ideas for software. Because we already got a Mario Kart. We may get another one because it was a remake of the Wii U one. We already got a 3D Mario game. We already got a 3D Zelda game. We're going to get Kirby this year. Eventually, we're going to get Smash Brothers. Yoshi's coming out this year. We're supposedly going to get Metroid. There's going to be some RPGs. We already got Xenoblade. What am I forgetting? There's other Nintendo stuff, Donkey Kong and things like that we're going to get. We got ARMS, which was a new IP. It's very kid-friendly. But let's get something new. You know what I mean? Something new that's a AAA title so that we're not just going through the motions again and getting the same formulaic release cycle as we've gotten with previous consoles. I feel like that is going to really help Nintendo out. Now, as far as what makes the Switch appealing, I think it's the handheld home console aspect. I mean, I thought it was silly when I first heard about it, and I don't really use it handheld that much, but it's a brilliant idea. Imagine if you could take your PlayStation 4 or your PC or your Xbox games on the go, on a plane, on a long car ride. I think that's a big part. Mac, am I boring you?
No, I'm just.
He's pulled out his Gameboy.
I'm just taking my games on the road with me, Mr. Nice Guy. As I pull out my little Game Boy.
Your little Game Boy.
But no, it definitely has appeal.
It does, and I think that's a big part of why it's selling so well. Nintendo made the cartridges extremely small. They're like the size of an SD card. So easy to lose. So I think that may be part of why their software sales are so high. But other than that, Nintendo's killing it, and I think that they're back. I think that they really can surpass their competitors. So that's been our topic of the week. Mac, I'll turn it back to you, bud.
All right. Well, now we come to the segment of the show where we encourage, even more than usual, some audience participation. It's called Kick or Kickstart, and what it amounts to is it's a crowdfunding exploration where we look at a crowdfunding video game or game-related item. We discuss some of the virtues and some of the vices, and then at the end, we give our deliberation whether we think it should be kicked out of here because it's garbage, or we think it should be kick-started because it is worth our time. And unfortunately, today, I'm going to disappoint some of you because I do this pretty much, once a week. Go through a Kickstarter, and sometimes if the crowd of the crowdfunding does not deliver, sometimes we have to do a little sort of a recap, because if we don't have it, we can't talk about it. But here is where I'm going to disappoint some of you, because I don't want to review some of the ones that we've talked about over the past, few months or weeks. I don't want to talk about the general ideas about crowdfunding. I want to talk about one very specific crowdfunding trend that I just don't get. And I hope that instead of you guys, weighing in with your usual, it's garbage, get it out of here, or we should put some money behind this, I hope you all can help me as a person understand why this is a thing and why it is always consistently funded. Because Mr. Nice Guy, as well as all our kind pod people, I go every single week onto these crowdfunding websites and I look at these video games and I scroll past every single week. I scroll past visual novels. Visual novel upon visual novel upon visual novel. And every one of them is not everyone, but almost every one of them is funded immediately, fully funded. And it goes on. And some of them, yes, some of those games are designed to be a touch racy. Some of them are adult visual novels. But I just don't understand the format either. And to the point, Mr. Nice Guy, that you asked earlier about, is there someone that you really like and you'll just watch them no matter what?
Yeah, a streamer, right.
Yeah. There was a streamer. I love them, care for them. They are a good friend. They were playing a game, and it was essentially a visual novel. Yes, it was a visual novel, and I was not into it. And yeah, that was just where we were. And I mean, I hung around for about as long as I could stand to try and be supportive and talkative, but I just eventually I had to say sayonara because that just doesn't appeal to me. So I need your help. All of you who are here, help me understand, what is it about visual novels? Why are they, one, so prevalent in crowdfunding? Why, number two, are they almost always funded? And why, number three, why is there a big enough crowd for visual novels?
Dude, I think anytime you can take something and add technology to it, make it more technologically appealing, people like that. Like, people love to read books on their Kindle. You know what I mean?
Mr. Nice Guy, perhaps I should elaborate ever so slightly. Visual novels are often kind of like, actually, I apologize. I should not assume. But visual novels do tend to be this sort of choose your own adventure type thing. Plus, some you almost often they're static. Like, you'll pick a thing and then it's a static image or a mostly static image of the person you were talking to in that game, except for now they have a frowny face instead of a happy face.
So I apologize. I thought you were referring to almost like episodic games, like that type of visual novel, quote unquote. Totally misunderstood you. So if that's the case, I'll be honest, I don't know why they're so appealing, because to me it sounds silly.
Yeah, and it does to me in general. And I mean, I have some biases, Mr. Nice Guy, about this. That is why when I'm scrolling through these crowdfunding sites and I see visual novels and I'm like, would that be interesting? No, I've kicked it already in my head. And yeah, and that's the thing. Kane has offered, it's a weird niche crowd and they love throwing money at it. Try looking into the merchandise attached to it. I don't dare, Kane. I mean, I don't understand the subject matter well enough itself. I mean, when I was growing up, I loved choose your own adventure books. They were very fun. I think me, like most of us, had 5 or 6 bookmarks that you would take with you anytime you read a choose your own adventure book. Because when you inevitably came to the end, it was time to backtrack just a couple of decisions. But yeah, I just don't understand. I mean, I imagine production costs are probably fairly low. And one thing I have noticed is that a lot of them have that low bar for being funded.
Right.
But still, it just boggles my mind because it just doesn't appeal to me. So I was hoping that somebody would have something to say that would just make it all click, and I could, and the clouds would open and the sunlight would shine down and there would be singing, and I would suddenly say, yes, I understand now. But alas, today is not that day.
Today is not that day, Mac.
But I do appreciate you guys coming with me on a journey of the mind. And for those of you who love visual novels, I apologize. It's just not something that Maction gets. So that's what I had for today for our gaming, our crowdfunding kick or kickstart segment. Sorry you don't get to weigh in about whether to kick or kickstart it. But in general, I'd say the visual novels, I'd give them a kick.
I would kick that to the curb as well. I think it's some nonsense. Mac, thanks for sharing that with us. I want to acknowledge one question in the chat. Normally we don't get off on tangents like this, but someone in the chat, Moocher333, welcome back, dude. It's been a while since we've seen you. He says, I don't know if you guys have any room on the agenda, but I would love to hear your thoughts on the Overwatch League. Mac, I'll cover this just because he wants to know a little bit. He says, millions of dollars have been put into it already, and I wonder about the long-term longevity, if any. Now, Moocher, we actually did talk about that a little earlier, which is why you should always be on time to the podcast. No, I'm just kidding. We did talk about it, $90 million going to Twitch for exclusivity on streaming. And yes, Overwatch, if anything, is made by a company in Activision Blizzard that knows how to keep a game going for a long time. They also have a lot of experience, Activision Blizzard, in creating games that are esports relevant. So, I mean, think about Call of Duty. You know, Activision is over that. Heroes of the Storm is it's not huge. It's a mid-level game. But you also got Hearthstone. You got I know I'm forgetting some big ones, but my point is you have a lot of games that have stayed around for a long time, not even in the esports world, but just in the gaming world in general. Think about World of Warcraft. People are still playing that game hardcore, paying for subscriptions. So for that reason alone, I think it's bound to be successful. Also, their strategy with Overwatch has been to make all the DLC free, so they keep people coming back. They have seasonal activities. Additionally, one thing I forgot to share earlier is that you can watch the streams of the matches through the game. So you load up your Overwatch game, you can watch the esports matches through the game, if that makes sense, which I think is a really unique idea and just a cool thing. So you can get ad revenue for them that way. So that's my stance. I think it's going to be around for a long time, at least 10 years. Now, Mac, I think it's time for our next segment, isn't it? Should we keep things moving along?
Indeed it is.
And that segment, you guys, is my favorite segment of the show. It's one where we make fun of people a little bit, and it's called the Dummy of the Week, a segment where we talk about someone who... Oh, I forgot to do the echo. Week. A segment where we talk about someone who did something stupid, idiotic, or downright dumb, and we make fun of them a little bit. Now, this week, it's not... it's funny. I'd say it's a 6 on a scale of 1 to 10 as far as funniness level. This comes from standardbanner.com, and it says a Powell man was sentenced to 2 years last week after admitting to a series of shoplifting incidents in which over $5,000 in gaming equipment and collectibles was stolen from Walmart in Jefferson City. Now, we did share a story similar to this a few weeks ago. This is not the same story. It says Dewey Allen Norman, 37, of 608 Mahaffey Road. Now, first of all, why did they put his address in here? That was totally unnecessary. So the person who wrote the article, also a dummy of the week. You can't put a person's first name, middle name, last name, age, and then also put their address in the article. That's just crazy.
I could go for the social security number too while you were at it, Mr. Newsman.
Can they tell us like the code to get into his home or
mother's maiden name of first pet?
This is insane. Especially since we know that he stole a bunch of stuff. Maybe some of it's still there and people are going to now sneak in. It says he must serve at least 30% of the sentence before becoming eligible for release, Circuit Judge Dwayne Sloan ordered. He entered guilty pleas to 3 counts of theft over $1,000, 4 counts of theft under $1,000, and 5 counts of criminal trespass. Norman was also ordered to make restitution to the store, totaling $5,348. A co-defendant in the case, Jason Eugene Ferguson, 31, of 110 Blacks Ferry Road in Knoxville, shared his address as well, is scheduled to appear in Sessions Court today. He is being held at Jefferson County Jail with a bail set at $55,890. Both were arrested in October following an investigation. According to the warrants, their first theft was April 4th, when surveillance video showed him removing several video games and accessories valued at over $500. On August 29th and 30th, they returned and took a total of 12 video game controllers and 11 games valued at over $1,800. The alleged damaged keeper boxes for the games and discarded empty packages in another area of the store after leaving the electronics department. Now here's where it gets crazy. Thefts continued on September 5th, 19th, 22nd, and 30th. So really, who's the dummy here? It's Walmart for not stopping these guys. They came in like every 2 weeks and kept stealing stuff, and they were on camera. How did they not stop this? At the end, it says they stole 20 more video games, including new releases like Madden 18 and Destiny 2. And on the last 2 dates, they took a total of 150 packs of Pokemon cards, valued at nearly $700.
That was the line right there. When they took those Pokemon cards, that was the line.
The store manager was like, listen, now you're just stealing from children. My kid plays that game, and you're ruining his probability of getting a legendary holographic Charizard. I had a holographic Charizard back in the day, Mac.
Oh, really?
Pokemon cards. I did, man. It was a fantastic card. I wish I still had it. Anyway, guys, here's the thing. These guys now have to serve 2 years in jail, and they only stole like $5,000 worth of stuff. So I didn't get to do the math before the show, Mac. But I'm going to do the math right now. Let me pull up the calculator here on my computer, guys. We're going to get technical. Let's say it was $5,500. It was actually a little less than that. So that would be how much per year? That would be $2,750 a year. And let's divide that by day, because I'm curious how much they would have needed to make a day in order to get that much money. They would have needed to make $7.53 a day to be able to get that money. Now, they could have just stood on the sidewalk and begged for 2 years and hoped to get $7.53. Instead, they stole all this stuff, and now they have to go to jail for 2 years, Mac. That's crazy. That's not worth it. They could have made that money and just bought the stuff legit is what I'm trying to say. Kids, don't steal. Mac, that's our dummy of the week.
And quite a dummy indeed. Well, now we're on to the last official segment of the show, which we like to call Legalese. And in this segment, we talk a little bit about lawsuits that are going on or that have gone on, really anything that can impact how we enjoy and consume our video game entertainment. This one covers a very specific game, a game known as Star Citizen, which some of us may be familiar with. Now, I have covered just in passing that there was a lawsuit filed by Crytek. They make the engine, the Cry engine, leveled against Star Citizen on some specific things. Well, the Star Citizen developers have filed a motion to dismiss the lawsuit entirely, and I want to mention just a couple of things about this because I do find it interesting. So the original suit that Crytek put out there had some particular ways in which they claimed that the Star Citizen devs had violated their agreement. So, where we go? Hang on, sorry. The downside of these things is sometimes it's hard for me to find where I was reading when I glance away.
You're good, dude.
So,
it's all good.
Okay. As background, keep in mind that this got filed, and part of the issue is that Star Citizen changed their game engine from the Cry engine over to Amazon's Lumberyard engine back in 2016. Okay, the initial thing was the breach of contract and copyright infringement for using the Cry engine in a game other than Star Citizen. Failing to display Crytek's trademarks and copyright notices, as well as the very act of switching over to the Lumberyard engine, Amazon's Lumberyard engine, to develop the game, which Crytek claims that they had agreed to exclusively use the Cry engine. So, they didn't really note one of those things, but they say, well, of course we don't need to display the copyright and trademark notices because we're not using your engine. It's like, if we had something that wasn't made near Peanuts or involved Peanuts in any way, but we had to say, but you were faulting us for not saying may contain peanuts because it doesn't. It's not even processed in the same area. But what I think is quite interesting is their rebuttal. Their argument is that they were stated that they had an exclusive right to use the Cry engine in the game, but that did not force them to use the Cry engine in the game. They had rights, they had exclusive rights to use the engine, but they didn't have a duty to use it. And so, in general, their biggest rebuttal to this thing is that the term exclusivity means something other than what Crytek is saying. Crytek is saying exclusivity in this contract means you agreed to use our engine exclusively to make your game. Whereas Star Citizen devs are saying That's not what exclusive means. It means, yes, we have exclusive rights to use the Cry engine, but that doesn't mean we have to stick with it. So without reading the full text of the agreement itself, which I'm not going to lie to you, I have not yet had time to do, it's going to be interesting. But that is where this is going to be. And if the judge agrees that they have, yes, exclusive rights, but they did not obligate themselves to use the Crytek engine, or sorry, the Cry engine and only the Cry engine, then it is very likely that the lawsuit from Crytek will be dismissed. But it will be interesting to see what a judge thinks after there's a read through of the whole agreement. So bring out the contract, lawyers, bring out the contracts, because this could get hairy. When I hear back as to exactly which way this went, I will be sure to update you. But that is just a little bit interesting. I wonder if I have exclusive rights to anything in my life that I could lose, or that I would be in trouble for using something else. And the only thing that comes to mind is the exclusive rights with Mrs. the Mac. I would be in trouble for going someplace else. But you know, I mean, but my contract's very different from the contract that they wrote up with between Star Citizen and Crytek. So we'll see how it goes.
The thumbs up that you did when you said that was hilarious. I wish, you're missing out if you're not here for the live show, guys. Mac, thank you for sharing that legalese with us, man.
You are welcome.
Guys, that is our show. But before we go, we like to do one last segment called What We've Been Watching and What We've Been Playing, where we talk about all the nerdy media, all the nerdy YouTube, all the nerdy Blu-ray, all the nerdy TV, all the nerdy games that we have been watching and playing. So please let us know in the chat the stuff that you've been watching and playing, because we're always looking for new nerdy stuff to check out. Mac, do you want to lead off for us?
Absolutely. So for my part, I've been watching and playing a few things. As for watching, Mrs. the Mac and I are getting through the last little bit of Madam Secretary, or at least the last little bit that is on Netflix. So season 3, we're working our way through the remainder of season 3. As for playing, there was a recent update released for Dead Cells. So I've been playing that and getting used to some of the new and different mechanics. Also, there was a game that was released by someone that I met on Twitch, Ockpile, and he put out a couple of games for on Steam, very inexpensive ones. But the one that I was playing earlier this week / last week, even did a stream of it. It was one of those. It very much drew on sort of I want to be the guy, Meat Boy type stuff. But it's called Dispersio, and that was quite enjoyable. It took me a little while, but I did beat it on stream, for which I was very glad.
Nice.
But yeah, that's mostly what I've been watching and what I've been playing. Mr. Nice Guy, how about you?
Now, I got a question for you. Have you heard of this new phenomena called Black Mirror? Black Mirror?
Yes, and I already shotgunned it all.
It was good?
Okay. This is a great conversation to have, Mr. Nice Guy. How dark do you like your entertainment?
See, and I don't really. And I watched the trailer, and that was the sense I got.
Yeah, then Black Mirror is not for you. There are maybe 1 or 2 episodes of Black Mirror, of all that has been released thus far, that kind of have a sort of happy-ish ending. But even the ones with happy endings have very dark implications. And bring up a lot of ethical things. So I will spoil something ever so slightly by speaking in general terms and saying that in a lot of ways, in a lot of the episodes, they often deal with essentially digital reproductions of people's consciousnesses.
Okay.
And so very often there are a lot of ethical questions that you run into about these digital clones of people, essentially. And so when you drill right down to it, even if you wind up with a happy ending, you still have this moment where you think, now hang on, this digital construct can never really die. This digital construct has to continue in this way. So maybe it's a happy ending right now, but I don't know. So there's a lot of stuff where even the happy endings in Black
Right.
Mirror tend to be tainted by
Right.
some implication
Okay.
in the thing.
Yeah,
So
not
if
my
you don't
thing.
like dark sci-fi, I would say avoid it, even though I did love it
Cool.
myself.
Cool. And they have like 3 seasons out, don't they?
I believe 4.
Wow. And it's a Netflix original?
But the first couple of seasons are, they're British style seasons, so they're like 3 episodes.
Okay, got it. Yeah, not for me, but that's cool that people like it. So I've been playing a lot of PUBG, PlayerUnknown Battlegrounds, playing some Fortnite, playing some Mario Odyssey, and flexing my Monster Hunter muscles, getting ready for that Monster Hunter that's coming out this month, Maction. You know that's my favorite game, one of my favorite games. And then as far as what I've been watching, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., really getting back into that. This season is solid. I really, really am enjoying this season. My wife and I have been watching it. Just rewatched some movies. In fact, one of them is right here. If you guys have never seen this Blu-ray right here, this bad boy, Now You See Me, I'd recommend it. Morgan Freeman. Who else is in it? Mark Ruffalo. Who else? So many good actors. Woody Harrelson's in it. Jesse Eisenberg, Michael Caine. Really, really solid movie about some magicians who are also kind of criminals. And I like those types of like Ocean's 11 team-based crime movies where it's intelligently written. So both those movies, that and the sequel, are good. That's it. I'll end it on that for the week as far as stuff I've been watching and playing. Mac, what are people saying in the chat, man?
So we've got some Blade Runner 2049, some Kingsman: The Golden Circle, John Wick Chapter 2, and some Grand Tour. That's the Amazon continuation of the BBC's Top Gear. We've got for games, we've got Yakuza, Matterfall, Mafia 3, Wolfenstein: The New Colossus, Call of Duty World War II, and LX.
Sweet.
So yeah, sound like some winners there.
Nice. Well, guys and girls, thank you for tuning in to episode number 55 of Two Nerds in a Pod. If you liked what you heard, please hit us up with a subscription on iTunes. Also, feel free to leave a rating. We love those 5-star ratings. We'll be back here on twitch.tv/Two Nerds in a Pod next Tuesday. Same bat place, same bat time, same bat rhymes. Keep it nerdy. Deuces.